Have you ever wondered what it takes to build a lasting connection with your partner that stands the test of time? Well, in this live episode, Britt and I share our secrets to building a lasting relationship.
Hey, we're Britt and Chris Carmichael, and you're listening to the Elevated Life podcast. Throughout the 13 years we've been together, we've never ceased in our endless quest to better ourselves.
We've studied top experts, philosophers, and gurus. After years of personal self-experimentation, we found the tools for shifting your beliefs, moving through fears, and developing a positive mindset.
If you're ready for a breakthrough, then you're in the right place, because we're here to empower you to take control of your life with simple mindset shifts that create radical transformation.
We'll be diving into topics like personal growth, health, philosophy, spirituality, relationships, success, and mindfulness.
So create some space for yourself and get comfy. It's time to become the badass you were born to be.
You know, relationships are the most powerful thing. It's the biggest key to longevity. And besides yourself, the next biggest relationship that you've got to focus on is your partner. You've got to figure out, if you're going to go for the long haul, you've got to figure out what are those things that you can do on a regular basis that takes your relationship from average or mediocre to something that's incredible, to something that you wake up every day feeling excited about, to something that you say, hey, 5 years, 10 years, 100 years, lifetimes from now, this is the person that I really want to be with, because we are going to be doing incredible things together.
And if you're here with us now, I'm Britt and this is Chris Carmichael, and together we have founded the Elevated Life, where we teach you these simple mindset shifts that create radical transformation. And not only will today's ideas blow your mind, they're things you already know, but they're things you're not practicing. And that is the perspective shift that we're here to bring you today to help take that relationship to a deeper, more intimate connection. Because listen, you signed up for the relationship for a reason. And if you're not getting along, if you're not like one beautiful, cohesive unit, then there's a problem. Because that's the difference between an intimate, lasting relationship and a friendship or a roommate.
Yeah, so first thing.
Wait! We have a very exciting announcement to make today, so be sure to stick around after we share all these tips. You probably have already seen the big announcement, but we'll share a little bit more after. I just had to put that out there. Let people know. It's Friday. We're celebrating. Let us know if you're here watching live in the comments and where you're watching from. And do you know what our little secret surprise is today? All right, let's do it.
What's up, Julia?
Melinda's here. Brooke's here. Julia's here. So good to see you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Miss you too, babe. Girl, come on over. You are right across the street. You are welcome anytime.
All right, so number one uncommon way to build a lasting relationship: small, thoughtful gestures. I know this makes sense. We're like, yeah, I know that. But are you doing it? This is something that I missed out on probably the first 2 or 3 years of our relationship. I didn't know how powerful this was. I didn't know how meaningful it was. But when you tap into what your partner's needs are, when you really start to figure that out, you can offer them things that to you aren't really that big, but to them are huge. And for us, it was small, thoughtful gestures. We actually celebrate Britt's birthday twice a year. We also celebrate our anniversary.
Wait,
twice a year.
Half birthday. So it's not just like 2 birthdays. Like, come on, man. Don't make me sound so crazy.
Okay, so listen, it's not just 2 birthdays. It's a week of her actual birthday or longer.
And then 6 months counting down.
Yes. I'll tell you, every month when the 13th comes around, Britt goes, however many months it is to my birthday.
Oh my God, I think that's tomorrow.
Oh my gosh, listen.
I don't know.
It's every single
It is
time.
Tomorrow. Guess what? 4 months till my birthday tomorrow.
It's every time. So small, thoughtful gestures. This is so huge because you're reminding your partner. One of the biggest things that we found in relationships is that people who've been in the relationship for a long time forget to appreciate their partner. And their partner feels that. They realize that. They're not told, you're beautiful often enough, or you're handsome, or I love your cooking, or damn, that was really great what you did the other day. We forget. And small, thoughtful gestures doesn't always mean you have to go out and buy a present. If that's right for you and they love presents, get them flowers. Doesn't matter. You can just say a few simple words. It's that reminder. It's doing that one extra thing. It's going and filling up the car with gas when you guys are going to take a trip so you don't have to do it together. It's ditching the plane ride for a road trip even though you're driving to Colorado and it's 13 hours away.
Aww.
which is what we're doing next week.
Yeah, we're peacing out and heading to Colorado next week, so you can expect us to be offline and off the grid. But, you know, it really is a two-step process here. To, one, be aware to know what your partner needs, enough to say, like, man, I can tell they've been really busy. Maybe I can handle the dinner, maybe I can handle the chores, or maybe I can be intuitive enough to be one step ahead of my partner and really help to lighten their load. And then the other thing is, if you don't know what type of love language your partner has, we highly recommend reading the 5 Love Languages book. After reading this book, we realized that our love language is a completely different expression. I like presents, and Chris likes
Surprise.
presents. So we realized that his quality time and my small little gifts and things like that, we realized that was the way that we knew how to receive love or experience love. That was what allows us to know, like, this person really cares about me. Because if your love language is time and acts of, compassion, whatever. What is the word? Presence, like being present with someone, but you keep buying them things because you think you can buy their love, then there's like a disconnect and they never receive the love that you're trying to express to them. I see this happen with very wealthy, businessmen who are traveling all the time, who don't get to spend time with their family, and they just keep sending money or buying gifts. Like, I hope this makes you feel better, but meanwhile, the love language of the woman is quality time together. And so even though they're trying to express love, it's just in the wrong language.
Yeah, so figure out what the love language is and then do that continuously. Mm-hmm. Number 2.
Go for it.
Enjoy mundane things together. Look, it's easy in the beginning.
Like filling up the gas tank?
Yes, look, it's easy in the beginning to enjoy every little moment together. Everything's new, everything's fresh. That's great. But like once you get down the road a year, 2, 3 years, everything starts to feel normal. But if you can enjoy doing the normal things, if you can clean together, if you can build IKEA furniture together.
Oh my God, that's the ultimate relationship test.
Seriously, if you can stay in quarantine, we saw a lot of people in quarantine whose relationships fell apart. And a lot of times it's because they didn't know how to do mundane things together. One person went off and worked all day, the other person went off and worked all day, then they came back together, they had dinner, they watched TV, and they went to bed. And didn't realize, what's the normalcy doing? Like, can I have fun grocery shopping with you? Can it be fun just to do the normal, everyday, boring stuff? And once you can grab onto that, once you can go on that walk together and that's what you want to do, and you don't need a lot of external things to validate you or huge trips. Love taking trips, but if that's the only time you're enjoying your relationship, something's up. So find a way to start enjoying all the little small things together.
And I think that's probably what was challenged the most, is so many people in relationships don't spend a lot of time together. Even though they're married or even though they may have children, they're busy doing their own paths. And what is so different about our relationship is that from the day that we met almost 14 years ago, we have not spent more than 24 hours apart. We have always been super involved and intertwined in every single aspect of each other's lives and business. And because of that, we've grown so much. And when you spend a lot of time apart from your partner, it doesn't give you the opportunity to grow together. It's like little bursts of time rather than a long concentrated period of dealing through all the past pains and the traumas and the darkness and learning your love language and how to communicate. So if you're not spending a lot of time with your partner, especially doing these mundane tasks, then it's going to take a lot longer period of time for you to really blossom and connect on a deep level.
Whew, so true.
All right. The third thing that you can do that's uncommon but still known is to check in with each other. Chris and I have this rule called updating the rules. Every Thursday we check in with each other and we say, hey, how's it going? How are we communicating? How's the sex life? How's our meal prepping? How have we been skipping on yoga? We always ask each other, how can I show up better? Is there something that I can do to improve? Have you noticed anything? Am I acting crazy right now? Can you check me on that? And we are constantly communicating rather than being afraid of what the other person will think if we actually express our true feelings.
This is not a time that we use to attack each other. A lot of people have messaged me and said, hey, I started doing your Thursday updating the rules thing, and then I just attacked my partner for 30 minutes. They didn't like that. I didn't like that idea. That's not what we do. Mm-hmm. The question you always ask your partner is, on a scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate the last week? Yep. And what could we do to make it better? What can we do to make it one step better? If you guys know, we live by the 7 or above rule. So I'm always asking, what can we do to make that a 7 or above, or a 9 or above, or ask that. That way you're not attacking, and you get to see what your partner's perspective is, because a lot of times it's different. Even if you do the same stuff all day, even if you read the same books and you watch the same shows and you're with each other, it's always different. The biggest mistake that you can make in your relationship is thinking the other person is you. They don't want the same things you do. They don't need the same things you do. They don't require the exact same little bitty factors in the relationship. And so you have to ask them. It's not always obvious. And so you have to be asking them, like, hey, what is it that we can do a little bit different? I mean, do you want to do meals together? Is it easier if we do it this way? And start to simplify your life. That way you're both building the same future together. You know that you're on the same page, and it starts to make sense. You're like, oh, that's why they were so upset last week, is because I did this way instead of they really need me to do it that way. And that's not really a big deal, and I'm definitely willing to do that. We forget that. We forget that they're not us. Talk to your partner. Even if you've had a relationship for 40 years. In the last 5 years, it could have changed dramatically, because a lot of people are always moving in their own level of consciousness, how they interact with the world, how much pain and trauma they've dealt with, how they do in stressful situations like pandemics and stuff. And so you have to be constantly checking in, because the answers aren't always the same. That's why we do it every Thursday. It's not every 6 months. We want to be checking in.
When all the resentment's built up because we haven't communicated or we haven't asked for help.
That's why you fall apart. You fall apart because the other person doesn't feel understood, and then they don't feel appreciated, and then there's no intimacy because no one's having sex with someone who they don't feel like loves them or cares about them. And so your relationship has just turned into a friendship, and not even that great of one. So you want to be on top of this all the time. We all know to do this, but we all have to plan it out into our schedule. This is a reminder that goes off for me. This is programmed already into my phone, so that every Thursday it pops up and says, hey, update the rules. Check in with Britt. Make sure that I'm doing this. Let technology do it for you. Have the reminder. You've got it.
Yeah, and that's the big problem is when we ask our partners for help, a lot of the times they forget. So we feel resentful because they don't want to help me. They don't appreciate me. I guess I'll just do it all myself. And that's where the issue begins. Most of the time, they're just forgetful. I mean, hell, they're dudes. You know what I mean? So if they don't have that programmed reminder, or you reminding them in a loving way that you need help, or voicing that you need help, then how are you going to ever get that when you still hold that expectation of them? They're not mind readers, and they don't play the games that girls play, so it's important to ask for help and communicate your needs to your partner.
Yeah, number 4.
Hold on. Speaking of 7 or above, it got me thinking, I feel like before we share the last tip, we should share our special announcement, because right here we've got someone asking, can you post this so we can watch it back later? Well, the special announcement, one, you guys know we always post these on my YouTube and they end up on my blog, but the special announcement today is that the Elevated Life podcast launched this morning, and now you'll be able to access all the Elevated Life videos and teachings and classes that we have brought to you live, and even intimate conversations that we're recording just specifically for the podcast. It is now available on iTunes and Spotify and all the places you get your podcasts. So if you are in love with the Elevated Life, now would be a great time to go check out the first episode, because it is something no one has heard before. We really dive into how the Elevated Life was born, how we got started on this spiritual journey, and it's a deep, intimate conversation between us rather than us to you guys. So you'll really get to hear how we think, how we feel, how we operate our relationship and our business. All right, the 4th tip.
Yeah, personal space. Give your partner personal space. There's a big togetherness that you have to have, but there needs to be a separateness in that togetherness. This is what will help dissolve codependency. You can't be on top of the person all the time. You just can't.
I mean,
wow. Maybe you can. Listen, but you can't swarm them. The person you have to give them room to grow. Everybody needs a little bit of extra space to grow. So what we do in our relationship is our morning time is alone time. I wake up, it's like a kiss in the morning, things like that, sure.
He makes my tea.
I get stuff prepped in the morning because I wake up first, so I get a lot of everything prepped. But the big deal is to allow them to have that personal space. When we went down the spirituality path, we were like, man, the spiritual path is really going to be the one for us. I went down science, meditation, yoga, Eastern philosophy, things like that. And Britt went down tarot, oracle cards,
angel numbers,
smudging, chakras,
rituals,
auras, that kind of stuff. It was different. So there was a togetherness because we were doing the same thing, but there was aloneness also because we were able to go on our own adventure and respect what the other person was doing, which a lot of times is different. So if you are growing at a rate that your partner's not growing and you're feeling that, make sure you get to a spot where you give them some space. Share with what you're doing. That's why I love when Britt would share with me, because she's interested in stuff that I'm not going to necessarily read about. And so she's able to share with me, I'm able to share with her, and we're able to combine our wisdom and knowledge and the path that we're down together. And it makes what we're doing so much more beautiful. So I'm like, oh my gosh, what did you learn about? Tell me more about that. And she would come the exact same way with me, like, man, that's so interesting. Is there a way that we can apply that to our lives now? Or can we teach that and help other people to apply it to their lives? And that's how a lot of the stuff that we're doing is born, is because we go down different paths while being together. It's okay if the other person splits off. As long as you reel them back in and you're together enough, as long as you know you're appreciated and know that it matters, it's okay to go a little separate. And that's exactly what it's worked so much for us, because it doesn't feel like despite the fact that we spend so much time together, it doesn't feel like that there's an annoyance. It's just like, man, can you just like leave for a few hours? It's not like that. Every time I see Britt, whether I'm in the other room or she's been, gone for the day doing what she's doing, every time we reconnect, there's something inside me that just lights up. And it lights up because of that. She gives me plenty of personal space to just be myself.
I mean, he literally has lone wolf tattooed on his leg, y'all. Like, he is an Aquarius through and through, and you gotta give him his space. And the same is true for everyone else. So, okay, this is an important topic that we need to bring up about the podcast. Now, there's another couple out there that created the Elevated Life podcast, but y'all, we own the trademark, so I don't want to have to like pull some legal battles. But if you Google the Elevated Life podcast, you're going to have to maybe do a little digging in the beginning, and that's why we need your help. We need you guys to leave those reviews so that we can elevate ourselves on the chart, so that when you type in the Elevated Life, it comes to the true Elevated Life space. So if you guys could do us that favor, we would appreciate it so much. And if you do it before the 21st, you'll be entered to win a 1-year membership to the Elevated Life Club. And if you're not an elevator already, y'all, get yourself over in the club, because this month we talked all about starting a side hustle, because we know this pandemic made everyone's perspective shift and realize that we have to take our power back and be able to make the profit ourselves instead of building someone else's dream. So if you've been thinking about starting that side hustle, now's the perfect time to join and catch that masterclass, so that you have the steps, the strategy, the formula to be able to get started, because that's the hardest part in any goal, is getting started.
Damn. Happy Friday, y'all.
Julia says, just posted the link to...
Julia, we love
Thank you so much. You guys can go to BrittanyCarmichael.com/podcast to get a direct link to the iTunes podcast for The Elevated Life. Jade says that The Elevated Life has changed her life. So amazing. Thank you guys so much. Any questions that came up on today's training, let us know in the comments below. We love hearing from you guys. Thank you so much for all the love and support. The Elevated Life has been here for about 3 to 4 years now, and I'm just so grateful that the podcast is available so that you guys can take the wisdom on the go. Thank you again for your support, and if you'd like to be entered to win a 1-year membership to the Elevated Life Club, be sure to go leave that review to be entered. That's it. That's all you have to do, and share it on Instagram so that we know you've entered. Julia says, TEL has changed my life. Yes. Oh my gosh, you guys are so amazing. Thank you so much for being here. We hope you have an amazing day, and we will catch you guys next week. Peace.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the Elevated Life podcast.